Yes.
You did a good job, sir.
What's going on?
You did a good job.
Yeah. So many.
I know.
So many things going
Yes,
on
I understand.
simultaneously, and my brain is
I understand.
boiling.
My name is Kathy. Currently, I am almost blind.
Да, да. Слушай, Сережа, не кричи. Слушай, скажи им, что пусть они попробуют световикам, пусть они попробуют того, кто на трибуне, дать тот цвет правильный. Я бы хотел посмотреть.
Понял.
Понял, ладно, ну когда появится. Что ты хочешь? Не, ну лицо ты видишь? Но я о том же. Просто хотелось бы посмотреть и цвет, и свет. Не надо. Yes.
Bless you, sir. Bless you.
Thank you.
I don't know.
Do you think so?
Uh,
It's supposed to be 5600 because looks like the same, like Mark and the stage. 56.
they try.
Но ты мне тоже не тихо.
Hello, sir.
Do you know by any chance who's responsible for sound here? Because Wi-Fi doesn't work.
Unfortunately, I don't know.
Different you mean between our cameras or different between...
Maybe you... No apology.
Yeah.
Just asking because maybe you know.
Поставь 56 тысяч. Yes, 56.
43.
Okay.
43.
Nat, can you give me the OrCam, please, on the screen?
Okay.
Yeah, I saw. Okay. هنا Elad. Stop. You can turn it off. It's fine.
Почему ты делал white balance? Почему ты делал?
Yeah, straight out those doors. Just keep going.
Еще раз, почему?
Bearing to your right.
Не, но он же может быть освещен чем угодно. То есть, но это же неправильно. Ну, понятно, но... Ну, давай по трибуне. Ну, давай по трибуне. Да, у меня тоже. Добрый день.
Пустой мешок могу я туда ставить?
Да, ну я же не все время буду туда поворачивать глаза.
Он пустой.
Конечно. Но если там бомбы нет, это все хорошо. А если
Бомбы
есть,
нет,
так
потому
я,
что уже проверили.
так я позвоню из Иерусалима.
Да, это не важно.
Потом.
Это уже будет потом. Слишком поздно.
Ну это уже да, это уже... Да,
Это будет уже слишком поздно.
да, ну будет 34. 34 у меня.
No.
I
Окей.
went so many times to security for our president. I know what he deals with.
Okay.
Да, это я. Добрый день.
Приветствую, как дела?
Добрый день. Я...
Володю знаете?
Володя.
Я был у вас на студии пару год тому назад.
Ну, может быть, да, да, да.
Концерт,
Что-то очень
Борис
знакомое.
Танцев.
Да, да, да.
Уже после интервью разговаривали.
Да, 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 да,
Если
да, да.
социализм,
Да, да.
свое знакомое лицо.
Да. Я тоже, да. Я люблю, что у вас Трамп, да.
Что вы скрываете, да?
Это звонил мой одноклассник из Лос-Анджелеса.
Ага.
Uh, 34. Я же тоже не знаю, что ему сказать. А он из Лос-Анджелеса. Там, против Трампа. А я говорю, Трамп попал. Ну, он говорит, ну как может третья школа за это не проголосовать? Мы же за одноклассниками. Как же третья школа не проголосует за это?
То есть Трамп-пам это как
Это уже все.
код-word.
И он сразу понял.
Такая цифровая. Ну, выиграли, самое главное.
Да, да. Но самое главное теперь, чтобы ему дали возможность что-то делать.
Все его как и Конгресс, и Сенат.
Да, но он что А да, а я говорю, да, там это самое, ну там Володя, там море ходит, 58 годов. Ну, я говорю, ну хорошо, ну я его знаю, там пещера, там одна пещера его именем названа. Ну, то есть он на таком уровне, я говорю, он все еще ходит, ну совсем. Да, он, ты что, он там, это, там, такие банды собирают, они там лазят.
Ну, все хорошо, жизнь хорошо идет, типа, мы Россия, Крым наш.
אוקיי. אלעד, אתה רואה את המצגת? נהדר.
Но она ни телевизор, ни компьютер, ничего не. То есть, в принципе, очень интеллигентный,
אוקיי.
нежный, абсолютно обаятельный, очень интеллигентный человек. Абсолютно ничего не.
אוקיי. אלעד, אתה רואה את הנוטס שלך על הקונפידנס סקרין? אוקיי. אלעד, עכשיו אתה פתוח. בואו נתחיל, כי אני נורא
שלום.
רוצה לפתוח דלתות. תראה שהקליקר עובד רק.
קליפר.
Я только снимаюсь.
אוקיי. קליקר עובד.
Help me was positioning the eye, and
בסדר, אנחנו לא נריץ את כל הסרט עכשיו, כי אין לנו זמן. אני רק רוצה שתלך, תסתכל, תראה, תסתובב על הבמה, תראה שאתה מרגיש טוב, שאתה רואה את הנוטס. עכשיו,
כן.
הקליקר שלך מעביר את המסך הגדול מאחוריך, אוקיי?
אוקיי.
הבעיה היא, איך אנחנו יודעים... וואי, נסה.
אני צריך זה בסדר, זה מעביר גם את הנוטס.
זה מעביר גם את הנוטס?
כן, כן.
בסדר גמור.
זה מצוין.
בסדר? אז בוא תראה שנוח לך על הבמה, תראה שהכל בסדר.
יכול לשים את התאורה שאמורה להיות?
כן.
Hamas spent the past 4 years producing a new policy document.
אוקיי. תודה. Sorry?
I'll have a little speaker downstairs.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Having a speaker.
אלעד?
כן.
איפה נמצא הרמקול של המכשיר הזה?
נמצא ליד האוזן שלו, אבל כמו שאמרתי לך, יש יציאת PL. הוא יכול להביא איזשהו רמקול קטן, אז יהיה יותר קל.
אם זה נק מייק זה בסדר?
נק מייק זה בסדר.
אלעד, במהלך הקופי ברייק, אני רוצה שתביא את פדרו ואנחנו נחבר אותו למיקרופון כזה, שאז תוכלו לשמוע את הדברים. אנחנו בסדר, אלעד? כן? אוקיי.
По-моему, в 9 уже будет официально. Понедельник
Не пускай он с собой, да?
Всего доброго, да. Мы здесь был.
Так, на всякий случай, захотите посмотреть мои как бы собственные видео? только на вашей как бы ТВ, я был так, Fox News,
Мне
Радио.
нравится этот перечет.
Да, я занимаюсь активно на радио.
О, это мне очень нравится. У меня там очень нравится. Он просто уже даже нелегко, но так очень.
If you will click that
Артистами Берни Сандерс вообще. Вообще в открытую я случайно и получился за него.
Мы во время инаугурации мы во время инаугурации были вот во всем этом Вашингтоне.
Как естественно, да, как туристы, хорошо с американским паспортом, все классно.
No, actually,
Тоже
I
был
was
классный
offered
совет,
to.
кстати, посмотрели кубинский гражданин. Посмотрели. Мы не знаем, кто
Guys, I'm opening the doors, so let's do like the preset. Good luck for everybody.
התשמע קולי, רחוקי שלי, התשמע קולי,
me see me. I want to see close up. Let me see me. Let me see me. Let me see me.
This the closest. Yeah.
I look very over. I look too white, too overexposed a little bit.
That is maybe monitor.
It's fine now. It is fine now. That's a nice little monitor you got there.
See? 4 monitors.
Yes. Bo, it looks to me like we're years away from starting this thing. So let's try not to go until 9. See if there's. Is there any way he can play something till 9 o'clock? Ask him.
Может быть, немножко ниже свет сделать, потому что его немножко сверху. Как ты думаешь? Вот, только он тяжелый.
I don't care what he plays, even if he has to repeat it. He's not coming to me at 8:50. Nobody's here. Yes, but how long will it go? No, how long will the travelogue go? Okay, and then tell him he should run some interstitials, and then we'll come around 9 o'clock. We start, right. Okay, you brought the board? But wait, who just said Sloan?
It's me.
It's very loud in my ear. Is there any way you can do something about that?
Sloan, what about my right hand?
Just blows my ear out.
Come.
Everybody hears it, right?
Come.
All over the room they hear it.
This.
Yes. I want that on this chair. Stand. Move it way up. Move the chair right to there.
No. This is volume. Come to me close.
Yeah, but I have to hear him. He's right. He's the right volume, and you're terrible. Yes. To me, he's blowing my ear out. We get more this way. No, that way. Isaac Herzog, Naftali Bennett, Denny Danone, Moshe Yalon, and Danny Chalutz. Intelligence Minister Israel Katz. And the senior contributing editor of the Jerusalem Post, Caroline Glick. You hold this. You hold this. Yes.
Speak full volume.
From the grand ballroom of the Marriott Marquis Hotel in the heart of New York City, Times Square, I'm Mark Golub, blah, blah, blah. Welcome to the 2017 Jerusalem Post Conference. I'm Mark Golub, and whether you're watching, wherever you're watching, all around the globe, whether you're watching throughout America on television providers like DirecTV and Optimum, or whether you're watching online throughout the world on the Jerusalem Post website and on the JBS website, get ready for a fabulous day that'll feature some of the biggest names in the Jewish world from the State of Israel and from the United States, all here the United States. It's a star-studded happening here at this 6th annual Jerusalem Post Conference, and we're thrilled to be giving you a front row seat to every moment. Let me give you a sense of what the let me give you a sense of some of the people you'll be seeing here at the Jerusalem Post Conference. When you say me, is that me? You'll have to tell me. No, absolutely. Is there feedback from it? Should I lower it down a little bit? Carol, you see anybody who we should interview? We can talk to? And wherever you are around the globe, whether you're watching throughout America on television providers like Optimum and DirecTV, whether you're watching all over the world online on the Jerusalem Post website and on the JBS website, get ready for a fabulous day that'll feature some of the biggest names in the Jewish world, both from America and from the state of Israel. It's a star-studded happening here at the 2017 Jerusalem Post Conference, and we're thrilled to be able to give you a front row seat to every single moment. Let me give you a sense of some of the people who you will be seeing here at the Jerusalem Post Conference, beginning with the head of the opposition party, the Labor Party leader, Isaac Herzog. And then from the other side of the Israeli spectrum, the head of the Jewish Home Party, Naftali Bennett, who is also Minister of Minister of Education and Diaspora Affairs. Israel's UN Ambassador Danny Danon will be addressing the J-Post conference, and two former heads, chief of staffs of the IDF, Moshe Ya'alon and Danny Chalutz. Moshe Bogi Ya'alon, Moshe Bogi Ya'alon, Moshe Bogi Ya'alon, Moshe Bogi Ya'alon, and Danny Chalutz. And we'll also be hearing from Israel's Justice Minister, Ayelet Shaked, Intelligence Minister Israel Katz, and then the senior contributing editor of the Jerusalem Post. Well, then he should get ready to play a half-hour program. He should play. What does he play? Let me just give him one moment to think. Yes. Find out what it is. 9:30. Actually, you know what? We'll go on at 9 for a moment. Yeah. Sloan, I'm going to do a whole open and then send it back. We, join regularly scheduled programming, and we'll come back as soon as we're ready to begin. All right. Exactly right. Whatever. Right. If I know what it is, that would be good. What?
Wonderful, yeah. I gotta arrange a time on an upcoming trip, so
Rafi, that would be great.
Spend some time with you in your studio.
Okay, I'm about to go on the air. Will you talk to me for a moment?
What would you like? Yeah.
I you guys do want open, and then I'll bring you on. We'll talk a minute about the conference. Why not?
I don't know too much about it, but I'll say I'm excited to be
Well, I'll
here.
talk to you about your work.
Like, whatever you like.
So sit down and or it's now what time is it? Actually, we're about to go on.
8:58.
2 minutes away. There are folks only in a half hour.
They are? Jewish?
Jewish.
Entire days get pushed up an half an hour, really?
Okay, good. What?
Okay. Time with everybody?
What? Yeah. Right. Yeah. I didn't think of it. You didn't think of it. Hold them. I think finish. 1 minute out. That's great. 1 minute out. I am ready. When you say go, I start my open. From the Grand Ballroom of the Marriott Marquis Hotel in the heart of New York City, Times Square, welcome to the 2017 Jerusalem Post Conference. I'm Mark Golub. It is a thrill to be able to bring you this, one of the most exciting events of the Jewish year, the Jerusalem Post Conference, and wherever you are around the globe watching right now, whether you're watching on television providers here in America like DirecTV and Optimum, or whether you're watching anywhere around the globe online on the Jerusalem Post website or on the JBS website, we're thrilled to be giving you a front row seat at one of the most star-studded events of the Jewish year. It's amazing who's going to be here representing both the state of Israel and American Jewish life. Some of the people that you'll see and hear at the 6th annual Jerusalem Post Conference is Isaac Herzog, who of course is opposition leader in the Knesset, and he heads the Labor Party. From the other side of the political spectrum, Naftali Bennett will be here. Of course, Naftali Bennett heads the Jewish Home Party and is Minister of Diaspora Affairs. Israel's distinguished UN Ambassador Denny Danon will be addressing the Jerusalem Post Conference, as will two former IDF Chiefs of Staff, Moshe Bogi Ya'alon and Dani Chalutz. You'll also be hearing from at this J-Post conference, Israel's Minister of Justice, Ayelet Shaked, Israel's Intelligence Minister and a member of the Security Cabinet of the State of Israel, Israel Katz, and once again, the J-Post's senior contributing editor, Carolyn Glick, who may be the single most popular figure here at the Jerusalem Post Conference. And then, of course, that's from Israel. From America, a host of Jewish leaders, beginning with Alan Dershowitz, who may be the world's leading advocate for the State of Israel. And if you've been with us before for prior Jerusalem Post conferences, you know that this room has not always been kind to Alan Dershowitz. He was booed here one year. In fact, he was on JBS as we celebrated Israel's 69th birthday, Yom HaAtzmaut, and Alan said he was going to be here at the Jerusalem Post conference, and he said he expects perhaps to be booed again this year. It'll be interesting to see. Also, of course, Ron Lauder, who's the president of the World Jewish Congress, will be addressing this J-Post conference. There'll be a panel dealing with an extremely sensitive question. Is Israel still the state of all the Jews? Is Israel still the state of all the Jews? There's some people here who are wondering whether the question is even appropriate, but we'll have some fascinating people addressing that issue, including the head of the Reform Movement, the URJ, Rabbi Rick Jacobs, also a member of the non-Orthodox rabbinic leadership in America, the head of the Rabbinical Assembly, Julie Schoenfeld, Rabbi Julie Schoenfeld, and then from the organization that really is the heart of American Jewish life, the JFNA, the Jewish Federations of North America. We'll have the president and CEO, Jerry Silverman. They'll be all addressing the question, is Israel still the state of all the Jews? And that panel will be moderated by Herb Kenyon of the Jerusalem Post. So it'll be interesting to see what comes out of that meeting. And again, that will not be the only panel. There'll also be a panel on terrorism, and there'll be a panel on the Israeli economy in the Trump era. And by the way, in addition to those figures, Dr. Sebastian Gorsuch will be here. And Sebastian, of course, is with the Trump administration. And to top it off, Larry King will be given the Jerusalem Post's Lifetime Achievement Award at this Jerusalem Post conference. It'll be hosted, of course, by Yehuda Katz, who is the editor-in-chief of the Jerusalem Post. So it promises to be a very exciting and informative entire day. It's scheduled to begin at 9 a.m., although, as most of you know, Jewish time tends to be very flexible, and people are only now filing into the Marriott Marquis Grand Ballroom, and we're told now that the Jerusalem Post expects to begin at 9:30, and it'll go throughout the day. There'll be a coffee break, a lunch break, and then it'll end somewhere between 5 p.m. and 6 p.m. Right now, I want to bring in an amazing Jewish leader. Come around to my other side here. This is Raphael Shore, and I want you to explain to our audience, JBS audience, and right now you're being seen all over the world here on the Jerusalem Post website, on the JBS website. Rafi, explain the contribution you're making to Jewish life these days.
Well, we are trying hard. We're filmmakers.
Exactly.
We're documentary filmmakers, two organizations.
Name some of your films.
So we have films called Obsession, Radical Islam's War Against the West, Iranium, about the threat that Iran poses to America as well as Israel. But we've got some inspiring films about Israel that are shown on your TV, which are, for example, Beneath the Helmet, about 5 paratroopers as they get through their training.
Amazing.
Beautiful film, and a follow-up film called Makonnen about an Ethiopian soldier who becomes a paratrooper. We have a film called Israel Inside about the high-tech revolution in Israel.
It's a fabulous film.
And what's driving it.
Yes.
And we're working one on right now together with the JNF on Israel's amazing water story, how Israel's dealt with the environment and water scarcity and helping the world now with it. And we're pumping out films very quickly.
Okay. Some of these are available online.
Yes, JerusalemU.org.
JerusalemU.org to see some of these fabulous films that Ravi's been able to put together. As you look back, is there one film you say to yourself, this is the film that represents what we're trying to get across most through the education that we're trying to provide through our films?
Well, that's a great question. And the answer is no. The answer is no. The richness of Jewish life and the amazing aspects of the Jewish people and Israel, the Israelis, are so diverse that each film is touching something else. The high tech, the environmentalism, the giving nature, the resilience. And right now we're working on a film about injured Israeli soldiers and how they get through it. There's so much inspirational that I think you have to watch 5 or 6 of the films to really touch on everything.
I accept it. I accept it. Yeah, Ravi, you do fabulous work. Hold on one second. Let me give this. So here we are at the Jerusalem Post Conference, 2017. You and I don't know exactly what the issues are going to be addressed. I know there's one that's on a panel discussion. Is Israel still the state of all the Jews? There's some people who've said to me they're surprised at the way that is phrased. To what extent, Rafi, do you think the question should be asked, and are you worried about what the answer is?
Well, I know that the answer is that Israel is a state.
Absolutely.
For all the Jewish people, and every Jew should be supporting and be involved and be proud of the incredible miracle that is Israel already in such a short amount of time. However, there are a number of groups and organizations that are working very hard to drive a wedge and to try to create this sense that if you are liberal, if you are on the left, then you have to stand against Israel. And now, in the Trump era, this makes it even more difficult because it's becoming, oh, well, I'm not for Trump and Trump's for Israel, so therefore if I'm not for Trump, I need to be against Israel. This is a very, very difficult situation that the Jewish world needs to deal with. So I think it's good that it's on the agenda today. Unfortunately, there's a lot of Israeli Jewish groups that are coming on the wrong side of the answer to this question.
Yes. My concern is this. We have two leaders from the non-Orthodox community here in America. And America represents Jewish pluralism. And there are those in the Jewish community here in America who feel Israel has not yet been embracing enough of the conservative movement, of the Reconstructionist movement, of the Reform movement. And they feel that the Orthodox rabbinate has a stranglehold on Israel. And when, Reform Jews, conservative Jews, etc., are not allowed to stand at the Western Wall with their wives and their daughters. Some people are upset about it, and there's a feeling that financially the Orthodox establishment supports the Orthodox rabbinate in Israel, but Reform rabbis, conservative rabbis are not funded in the same way. So there's a resentment brewing inside the leadership in the non-Orthodox community in America. It's represented by Rick Jacobs of the URJ and Julie Schoenfeld of the Rabbinical Assembly. I am concerned that that's going to be the focus of the discussion. That will the Orthodox, the disproportionate amount of power the Orthodox now wield in the Knesset because of the coalition government, is it creating a wedge between American Jews, who tend to be overwhelmingly non-Orthodox, and the state of Israel? I want you to speak to that, and I also want you to speak to the issue of what do you hope you hear a Rick Jacobs, a Julie Schoenfeld, and a Jerry Silverman of the JFNA say about this issue?
My first comment is that, first of all, this is a very sticky issue, as you know, very delicate, very sensitive, and I understand why it's so sensitive. The first thing I'd like to say is that, like Alan Dershowitz said recently, if you want to criticize Israel, if you want to be negative of what's going on in Israel, come and live in Israel. Until you live there, until you're involved, don't undermine the state of Israel. And related to that, I once had a meeting as a filmmaker with the Consul General, one of the Israeli Consul Generals in America, and he said, listen, apart from the women's issues that might be real, and he understands the sensitivities, as do I, but he has to understand that by fighting the fight in the public like this about women's issues in Israel, it makes the average American think that Israel's like Iran, like it's a radical Islamic religious state with no women's freedoms. And to compare the two is ridiculous And unfortunately, because people don't have context, these kind of debates, when they're aired in public, become very negative for the overall impression of Americans and American Jews about what's going on in Israel.
That is perfectly said. Now, what do you hope you hear from Rick Jacobs, Julie Schoenfeld, and Jerry Silverman?
I hope that what I'll hear from them is that they're going to start moving hundreds of thousands of Reform Jews to Israel so they can start participating fully in Jewish life, and they'll be able to elect a lot more politicians in the coming years.
Okay, I'm going to tell you what I want to hear.
Okay.
I want to hear them say, under no circumstance does a policy in Israel separate American Jewry from the state of Israel.
I agree with
And you and I know, and many of you who have been to Israel and you're watching right now in Israel, you know, a non-Orthodox Jew gets off the plane at Ben Gurion Airport, there's no discrimination.
Right.
He feels nothing of a negative nature. So while I feel there is some substance to the issue, I don't want American Jewry to be giving any reason to think they should withdraw, separate, or feel distant from the state of Israel.
100%. And I think that a lot of this issue does provide the opening. Unfortunately, because the Jewish world has done not the best job inspiring and connecting young Jews to Israel, so then when they hear about these issues, it separates them further. And that's what we're trying to do at JerusalemU.org, is through film and the media, educate and inspire people that it's amazing to be part of Israel, so that when they hear, yeah, we're not perfect, we have some issues, but it's still a worthy place to be connected to.
Rafi Shor, Kol Tuva Hatzlacha, you continue
very
your
much.
fabulous work, and thanks
Thank
for
you.
being with us for a
Pleasure
moment.
to be here.
Raphael Shor, Jerusalem University,
JerusalemU.org.
JerusalemU.org online. Watch their movies. We're about to begin the 2017 Jerusalem Post Conference. It will be hosted by Yaakov Katz, who is the editor-chief of the Jerusalem Post. And now we're going to send this over to the stage. JBS is pleased to present to you live coverage on the Jerusalem Post website and all over the world, the 2017 Jerusalem Post Conference.
Beautiful.
Beautifully.
אני מרגיש רחוק אז איך זה שאני מרגיש רחוק יושב בסן פרנסיסקו על המים ועכשיו זה הזמן לדעת כבר מה צפוי לנו מהשמיים האם את יודעת למה התכוונה זאת שאמרה שהחוכמה היא כמו מים ונדמה שנהיינו בלית ברירה יותר ויותר קרובים אנחנו כמו זוג לאורך שדרה פשוט הולכים והולכים
In a moment, we're going to begin the Jerusalem Post Conference. We thought they were about to start. It turns out they need another moment or two. Let me give you a sense of the rundown of who will be speaking when. We're going to begin with the Israeli UN Ambassador, Danny Danon. He'll be followed by Intelligence Minister Israel Katz. The head of the World Jewish Congress, President of the World Jewish Congress, Ron Lauder, will address the Jerusalem Post Conference. Dr. Sebastian Gorka of the Trump administration will be interviewed by Yaakov Katz. And then we'll hear from Israel's Justice Minister, Ayelet Shaked. At that point, scheduled is a coffee break for about a half hour. We may be with you, and then we'll also send it back to our studios. After the coffee break, the main speaker is Naftali Bennett. By the way, Avigdor Lieberman was scheduled to be here, but issues came up for him and he was not able to come to America. So although he was scheduled, we will not be hearing Avigdor Lieberman this year at the Jerusalem Post Conference. We will be hearing from Naftali Bennett, and then there will be a lunch scheduled from about 1:30 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. Again, we'll be back for a moment, and then we will have some programming for you during that hour. When we come back for the afternoon session of the Jerusalem Post Conference, there'll be a panel on terrorism, fighting ISIS, Hezbollah, Hamas. Of course, it'll have two former chief of staffs of the IDF, Moshe Bogi Ya'alon and Dani Chalutz. There will also be another panel that you just heard Rafi Shor address. Is Israel still the state of all the Jews or for all the Jews? Leaders of the American Jewish community, non-Orthodox, will be representing themselves on the panel. It'll include Rabbi Rick Jacobs, who heads the Union for Reform Judaism, the Reform Movement's congregational arm. You'll hear from Rabbi Julie Schoenfeld, Executive Vice President of the Rabbinical Assembly. The Rabbinical Assembly is the conservative movement's rabbinical arm. And you'll be hearing from Jerry Silverman, who's President and CEO of the JFNA, the Jewish Federation of North America. Of course, it is the organization that really is the allocations arm of the American Jewish community and in many ways of the world Jewish community. All of us contribute to the JFNA, and then they distribute our money to all the worthy causes around the world. Once again, we are now ready to begin with Yaakov Katz, editor-in-chief of the Jerusalem Post, the 2017 Jerusalem Post Conference here on JBS, brought to you all over the world on the Jerusalem Post website and on the JBS website. We throw it now to the stage and the Jerusalem Post Conference.
That was our historic achievement, and that is our historic future.
Good morning, Shalom. Your Excellencies, ambassadors from around the world, members of the diplomatic corps posted here in Israel, distinguished guests, the Jerusalem Post family.
Today I want to talk about the power of words. The Jerusalem Post knows the power of words.
I'm a secular Jew. I'm not formally religious, but I wanted to be a part of this tribe.
There are nations, organizations, and individuals who are committed to fighting us, and this will never happen.
Millions of children are being taught daily that Jews are subhuman, that they're apes and pigs, and that they have to be destroyed.
This is what Nasrallah called the spider webs. He said Israel's like a spider web. It looks strong, but with your hand you can move it.
What we are focusing is protect, prepare, and prevent.
Words can kill.
In Tel Aviv, I was able to practice yoga. I was able to practice Christianity. They're Muslims, they're Druze, they're all type of people, all type of religions.
There isn't and there cannot be a solution other than the separation from the Palestinians.
How could you not? How could you not be worried about Iran becoming a nuclear power?
So we have no idea, actually, how much nuclear material remains in Iran.
In the Muslim society, I witnessed a woman who sent 5 of her children to die in suicide bombing attacks.
And our commitment to stopping Iran is not just rhetoric, our commitment is backed up with action.
And the first thing is the Palestinians will have to finally recognize the Jewish state. They cannot ask for a nation state for themselves and not accord one to us. After all, we've only been here about 4,000 years.
Good morning, New York. My name is Yaakov Katz, and I am the editor-in-chief of the Jerusalem Post. It is my honor to be here with you this morning. It's no secret that Israel today faces daunting challenges. After nearly 70 years, Israel has yet to reach the stage when it can rest and lay down its weapons. And today, possibly even more so than in the past, it needs to remain vigilant as it faces a region in the throes of an unprecedented historic upheaval and a great sense of uncertainty. Today, we will benefit from an insider's tour of the region. From Iran to Gaza, Syria to the Gaza Strip, and Egypt, the peace process with the Palestinians, and of course, Israel's strategic ties with the United States and the upcoming visit of President Donald Trump to our country and our region. These are just some of the issues our speakers will tackle for us today. The Jerusalem Post will soon celebrate its 85th anniversary. And as a paper, we have carried on the tradition of what our founder, Gershon Agron, envisioned in 1932, to create a newspaper in Israel that could tell the world what was happening within this ancient land, but also within the wider region. Over the years, we have grown, and we are obviously no longer just a print newspaper in Israel and around the world. But today, we are the most widely read English language website coming out of Israel in the Jewish world, which I'm sure you have noticed we recently redesigned. And we serve as an unwavering and reliable source of news for what happens in Israel, the Middle East, and the Jewish world. The issues we all know often are tough and sometimes divisive. But a newspaper, let's remember, is not an advocacy organization. We don't push one side of the political spectrum. A newspaper is supposed to be a place for people to hear a wide range of opinions and views on all of the issues that are at the core of what we are all interested in. If we read and listen to just what we agree with, what is the purpose of that? The whole point of newspapers like the Jerusalem Post and conferences like our annual conference, this today, the 6th year running, is to debate the toughest issues and ask the toughest questions. As the primary newspaper for the Jewish world, the Jerusalem Post, I believe, is carrying out its role faithfully, taking issues that are at the heart of controversy for the Jewish community and tackling them head on. The role of a newspaper is not to shy away from those issues. It is to embrace them. At the paper, we have always strived to bring you, our readers, perspectives from across the spectrum, from the left, from the right. Some you read and agree with, and some you don't. But that is our purpose. Our job is not to tell you what to believe, but it's to give you the information, the knowledge, so you can make the best decisions possible. So here is what I ask today. Our cardinal rule is that people be respectful. You don't have to agree with everything you're going to hear on this stage, but I request that you listen and that you let our speakers speak. That is the purpose of today's gathering. Israel as a story has always marveled the world. It is a tale of an ancient people that returned to its historic homeland and achieved the impossible. Not only did it survive, we just celebrated Yom Ha'atzmaut last week, but we prospered, we persevered. At the Jerusalem Post, we are proud to be able to tell you this story on a daily and 24/7 basis. Before we get started, I'd like to thank our sponsors for today's conference, And last but not least, the two people who make this possible. To the Jerusalem Post CEO, who I have the privilege of working with on a daily basis, Ronit Hassin Hochman, and of course, Eliazur, our paper's owner. Thank you both. We also have a few small changes to today's schedule. Unfortunately, we learned on Friday that Defense Minister Avigdor Lieberman had to cancel his trip to the United States. So he will not be with us today, but I assure you we have quite the lineup that will be quite interesting for all of you. I now invite you to sit back and enjoy this short film about the Jerusalem Post.
The Jerusalem Post has been telling Israel's fascinating story for over 80 years. We were there during the British Mandate, at the time of the Declaration of Independence and the establishment of the state.
אנו מכריזים בזאת על הקמת מדינה יהודית בארץ ישראל.
We marched together in war and in peace, at times of sorrow and in joy. We have been there at every moment that has shaped the course of Israel's history. And with every issue, we've established ourselves as one of the most accurate and reliable newspapers in the Middle East. As Israel's amazing story continues to develop, we too decided to expand. We have become a news source for 72 different countries around the world. This continuous development stems from a belief in the importance of a connection between world Jewry and the State of Israel. We have not stopped here. Our English language website is Israel's leading news site with more than 9 million viewers a month. Millions of people around the world view our daily news web broadcast. And our special app? It will accompany you anytime or place you want. In order to help preserve freedom of speech in Israel, we acquired the newspaper Ma'ariv Sof HaShavua, which immediately since its launch has become one of Israel's leading newspapers. And so, from a small paper in a small country, which was founded before the establishment of the state, we have evolved into a media group whose conferences are among the most influential and important in the Jewish world. All of this is both thanks to you and for you, the Jerusalem Post. We are the media group that always has and will continue to accompany the nation.
I'd now like to call on Israel's Consul General to New York, Dani Dayan, who will welcome us with a short greeting.
Good morning. Thank you so much, Yaakov. Let me start with a personal note. I am 9 months in New York City, and I think there is no greater privilege than to represent the capital of the world, Jerusalem, to the city that for some reason believes it's the capital of the world, New York. And in a more serious note, I would say now seriously that it's a tremendous honor and privilege to be appointed by Prime Minister Netanyahu to represent the Jewish state to the largest Jewish diaspora. In this conference, we will hear about a myriad of topics related to Israel. I would like, as a kind of introduction, to very briefly, of course, later my colleagues will elaborate, very briefly to touch 3 of them: security, Israeli diplomatic relations, and the economy of Israel. I think that in most of them I have good news. I would even say very good news. Yes, we have security threats. The first and foremost, as you know exactly as much as I do, is Iran. But I must say this: the fact that now, after a few years in which the situation was completely different, the United States of America and the State of Israel see eye to eye the dangers posed by Iran, see eye to eye the deficiencies of the nuclear agreement signed with Iran, the fact that Israel and the United States of America have a common view, an almost exact view of the situation, that is a strategic change. Obviously, that doesn't mean that we already formulated a common policy. I don't know if we will formulate a common policy. I hope we will. It is a process that will take weeks and months, but the starting point is extremely encouraging. I must also add in this respect that you heard, I am sure, a few weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago, two apparently contradicting news. The first one, that Iran complies with the agreement that was written in a letter by the State Department to Congress. And the second, the following day, by Secretary of State Tillerson, a harsh indictment of Iran's behavior and the nuclear agreement. Those are not contradicting, not at all. Let me remind you what Prime Minister Netanyahu said in Congress. He said, and he was completely right, if I may say, that the nuclear agreement is bad if Iran violates it, but it's even worse if Iran complies with it, because of the possibility to break out into nuclear military capabilities in 12 years, and as you know, and if you know, you should know, that Israel has every intention to be around in 12, 50, and 500 years. Obviously, we have also a delicate situation in Syria. And I will say regarding Syria, because we have short time, only this. I am extremely proud to represent the only country on earth that extends humanitarian aid to Syrian citizens inside Syria. As we speak now and sit here comfortably in New York, young men and women, Israeli men and women, endanger their lives in order to help Syrians. And not even considering the fact that it's enemy territory or enemy citizens. We should be very proud of Israel. It's an example of Israel being a light unto the nations. The second brief point I want to make, my friends, is regarding Israel's current standing in the world. Yes, we have problems in Western Europe, mainly Northern Europe, Scandinavia, and we hear a lot about BDS, which is a total failure, you know. In some cases, I even would like BDS to be more successful, like by preventing Justin Bieber to perform in Israel, but unfortunately they didn't. He just performed there last week. And now, I would like to say this, and I say it unequivocally. Israel was never less isolated in the world than today. I could, if I had more time, would have taken you into a whirlwind tour of the world to prove that. I will also only mention, because of the limited time, I will mention two small countries, India and China. Together with Israel, India and China are 1/3 of the world population. And well, 25 years ago, we didn't have diplomatic relations with either one of them. Today, the relations with India There is no other way to refer to them but as intimate. There is a staunch alliance with India. And you know, if you come to Israel and have breakfast in one of the Israeli hotels, that famous breakfast, the most iconic item they will find will be Tnuva cottage cheese. Actually, Tnuva cottage cheese today is Chinese because the Chinese invested hundreds of millions of dollars in Tnuva. And vice versa, if you would have told me 25 years ago that simultaneously, the same week, Prime Minister Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel will be in Beijing and the President of Israel in Hanoi, I would tell you that you are taking some stuff that you shouldn't. But that happened a month ago. And finally, I want to say a word about the economy of Israel. $15 billion. This is the amount that Intel Corporation paid for the Israeli firm Mobileye. And no less important than that was what the CEO of Intel told the Israelis when he came there to Jerusalem to sign. He said, for us, Intel Corporation is an Israeli company as much as it is an American company. Very bad news for BDS that without Intel, go back to the Stone Age. One of every $4 that are invested in cybersecurity go to an Israeli company. I just give you bullets. And the last one, I will tell you this. I remember when I made Aliyah back in 1971, and the Yom Kippur War was 2 years later, I remember vividly the headlines that said, Israel has foreign exchange reserves that are enough for 3 months of imports. If we do not get urgent loans, we will not have coffee, sugar, anything. Today, the Bank of Israel, our central bank, has foreign exchange reserves of the magnitude of $100 billion. I remember in the 80s, 400% inflation. Now tell me if that's not a miracle that the shekel is today the strongest currency in the world. Incredible. And I will conclude by saying this. Yes, we have problems of distribution of the wealth without deteriorating into socialism. We have our share of problems, of course, and please keep contributing to Israel. But I will say this. I saw African leaders watching Israeli high-tech companies that are one of the biggest careers of Israeli economy, seeing what Israel does for them in high-tech and their gratitude and appreciation. And again, I was extremely proud to be an Israeli. And to conclude, I will say this, we celebrated this week 69 years of Atzmaut, of independence. We have every reason to enter our 70th year with a great share of optimism. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Dayan. Our next speaker is Israel Katz, Israel's Intelligence and Transportation Minister and member of the Inner Security Cabinet. If you visited Israel in recent years, you probably have noticed some of the highways, the bypasses, the trains that have been building and are being built throughout the country. This is all the work of Minister Katz with his own 2 hands, is literally transforming our country. As Minister of Intelligence, he also works on some of the most core issues that sit at the heart of our existence. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Minister Israel Katz.
Good morning. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I want to thank President Trump and welcome him on his upcoming visit to Israel in this month. This year, we celebrate the 100th anniversary of the Balfour Declaration, the 69th anniversary of the States of Israel, and also the 50th anniversary of the liberation and unification of Jerusalem. This is the time to advance the vision of Greater Jerusalem and to extend its borders to include the Jewish towns in its vicinity, Gush Etzion, Givat Ze'ev, Ma'ale Adomim, and Beitar Illit. We must strengthen our hold in Jerusalem and ensure the Jewish majority there, in the face of all those, including UNESCO, who are trying again and again to question the undeniable historical and religious connection between the Jewish people in Jerusalem. A united Jerusalem is and will be the eternal capital of the Jewish people. It was and it will be forever. We have come a long way in 69 years. Today, Israel is a global center of high-tech and innovation and an island of stability in a stormy region. But we still face serious challenges and threats, including Islamic terror and delegitimization campaign against Israel and anti-Semitism. The developments in Syria, including the chemical attack, emphasize the threat posed by the strengthening of the Iranian axis in the region. In view of this threat, the United States and Israel should reach understandings regarding Syria and the region. These understandings should include 5 points: U.S. recognition of Israeli sovereignty in the Golan Heights. The Golan Heights is an indivisible and an integral part of the State of Israel. Second point, joint opposition to a permanent Iranian military presence in Syria and Lebanon, on land, in the air, and in the sea. Third point, the understandings should include sanctions against Iran until it stops supporting Hezbollah and other terror organizations in the region. This is the missing piece in the nuclear agreement signed with Iran. Iran is the biggest supporter of terrorism in the world and must be stopped. Tougher, paralyzing sanctions must also be imposed on Hezbollah in order to weaken it and to avoid the need for the use of overwhelming force against Lebanon in the future. And the fifth point, the United States and Israel, together with other countries in the region, should work to block Iran and prevent a territorial continuity from Iran through Iraq and Syria to Lebanon. Especially today, in view of these attempts to advance a political process in Syria and the talks between the US and Russia, we have to use every opportunity to make it clear that there won't be stability in the region as long as Iran is not pushed back and weapon transfers are stopped. I believe Israel's regional policy should be guided by a three-layer concept which includes regional security, regional economic initiatives, and in the future, based on the first two layers, regional peace. The first layer, regional security, should focus, as I said, on building a bloc against Iran. The second layer, the economic layer, is based on the understanding that the present circumstances in the region and in the Palestinian arena, we need to acknowledge that cannot be done and do what can. We should therefore focus on civilian economic initiatives which should be advanced in cooperation with countries in the region and with the support of the leadership of the United States for the benefit of all sides. In this framework, I am proposing to advance a regional transportation initiative, a railroad initiative, which will fulfill Israel's potential as a land bridge between the West and the Mediterranean on one side and Jordan and countries to the east on the other side. The initiative will connect the Palestinians from the Jenin area to Arab countries to the east and to Haifa port to the west, strengthening the Palestinian economy, and Jordan will become a regional transportation hub which will give a great boost to its economy. This initiative will also enable the US to develop new markets in the Middle East for made-in-the-USA products. American corporations could even lease a port in Haifa to serve as an unloading and loading point for goods moving by train to Arab markets in the Middle East. This initiative will have economic, political, and security advantages. In addition, I'm continuing to advance the idea of building an artificial island with a port and a civilian infrastructure for water, electricity, and gas 3 miles off the coast of Gaza. If realized, this project will provide the nearly 2 million Palestinians crowded in the Gaza Strip an economic, humanitarian, and transportation outlet to the world without endangering Israel's security. With American backing, we can advance initiatives which will change the day-to-day relations and reality in the region. These initiatives, which can be advanced alongside attempts to win new negotiations, can make all difference. They can be game changers. Ladies and gentlemen, national leadership means making plans and taking decisions. To take the initiative in face of the chances and dangers in our region. To extend the borders of Jerusalem and strengthen our hold in the Golan Heights, to block Iranian imperialism in the region, to advance regional economic initiatives, and most important, to continue to build and develop Israel, because when we are united and strong inside, Israel is strong outside. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister Katz. Our next speaker is Dr. Yuval Steinitz, Israel's Minister of National Infrastructure, Energy, and Water Resources. His past experience as Finance Minister and Minister of Strategic Affairs and Chairman of the Knesset's prestigious Foreign Affairs and Defense Committee more than qualify him to serve as a senior member of the current cabinet as it faces some of the challenges we will be hearing about today. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Minister Dr. Yuval Steinitz.
Good morning. Pleasure to be here with you. It's a very important opportunity, the Jerusalem Conference. Thank you for the organizer. I want to start by really expressing my hope and wish and belief that the Trump era is an opportunity, and Trump's forthcoming visit to Israel is an opportunity to strengthen the alliance between Israel and the United States, the alliance between the biggest and strongest democracy in the West and between the only democracy, the only Jewish democracy in the Middle East and in the world. It's a golden opportunity to strengthen this. You know, we always hope to achieve peace and security for Israel and between Israel and our neighbors. But I wonder if the current Palestinian Authority, the Abu Mazen or Mahmoud Abbas Palestinian Authority, can be trusted or considered a reliable partner for peace and security. This is a rhetoric question, but let me rephrase it a little bit. Can the extremely corrupted, splitted, dysfunctioning, totalitarian, anti-Semite Palestinian Authority become a genuine partner for genuine peace in the Middle East? We always hope to achieve peace and security for our people. But in order for the Palestinian Authority to be able to convince Israelis that we have a reliable partner, that it's reasonable to try to promote, to resume the peace negotiation, at least two conditions, two necessary conditions, should be fulfilled. And those two necessary conditions, some would say very difficult, maybe almost impossible, but still necessary conditions. First, Abu Mazen should put an end, should terminate the anti-Israeli and anti-Semitic incitement in the Palestinian education system. This is first condition. With the current level of anti-Israeli and anti-Semitic incitement, with the current situation, the two core messages that Palestinian children are getting in school class, the two core messages. One, that sooner or later Israel should be eliminated from the map. And the second is that Jews are horrible creatures that we should get rid of. With those two messages in the Palestinian education system, it's simply non-starter. So this is the first necessary condition, not just to stop providing salaries and money for terrorists who are sitting in Israeli jails for killing Israeli civilians or American civilians, but once and for all to put an end to this anti-Semitic and anti-Israeli incitement, horrible, impeccable incitement in the Palestinian education system. You know, we hear Abu Mazen during his visit to New York, to Washington, speaking about peace, about educating our people for peace. This is in English. But we see what's going on a daily basis in the Palestinian education system. So if you want to create the minimal preconditions for peace, first you had to terminate this impeccable, horrible anti-Jewish and anti-Israeli incitement. Second, we got a commitment from Yasser Arafat and Abu Mazen already 20 years ago that the Palestinian Authority in general, and Gaza in particular, will be totally demilitarized. Without the demilitarization of Gaza from rockets, from tunnels, from all kinds of illegal weapons, from all kinds of terrorist organizations, Hamas, Islamic Jihad, if Abu Mazen is unable, unwilling or incapable of demilitarizing Gaza, how can we trust him as a partner for peace and security? How can we trust his future commitments to Israel during such a negotiation? So those are two basic, necessary conditions in order to bring back some confidence and hope to the peace process. Therefore, although we always want to promote peace, and we always ready to negotiate and to give it a try, but therefore, I am not very optimistic until those two elementary, fundamental, necessary conditions are being met. And therefore, let me shift to another urgent subject, or two topics, that are actually linked together. Two topics that are extremely important for Israel, for the United States, and actually for the entire world. And the new rhetoric that we are hearing from Washington is very encouraging with regard to those two main threats, emerging urgent threats. One is the attempt of Iran to take advantage of this horrible civil war in Syria and to transform Syria towards the end of this civil war, and one day this civil war will be over. It might take another half a year, 2 years, but it seems that sooner or later it will be over. The plan of Iran to transform Syria into some kind of extension of Iran, and to make Syria an Iranian stronghold, military stronghold. The label will still continue to be Syria, but de facto, according to the Iranian plans, it will become just an extension of Iran. Iran is planning to build air bases, naval bases in Syria. Iran is planning to create permanent military presence and military garrisons in Syria, on Israel's northern border, on Jordan's northern border, engulfing and circling actually all the Arab Peninsula. It's a very serious threat to Israel, to the Sunni Arab world, to Turkey, to Cyprus, to NATO. It's bad enough as it is to have Iran so influential and threatening all over the Middle East. You don't want Iran with a leg at the Eastern Mediterranean, with naval bases in Syria or air bases in Syria. This is urgent because this is forthcoming. And the second issue that is already dealt by the new administration in Washington is the North Korean nuclear development. And some people might wonder, this is far away, over there. What is the interest or linkage to the Middle East or to Israel? I think it's crystal clear. Not only that North Korea and Iran already cooperated together on missile plans It was the North Koreans who built the secret nuclear reactor in Syria that was destroyed in 2006. Don't forget it.